Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a build guide for the Sorcerer King Warlock in Baldur's Gate 3, part of the D&D Player's Handbook 2024 All-In-One Beyond Mod by Yoonmoonsik. This subclass has a really great spell list, bonus action abilities like command here, and you can use your reaction to strike back against an attacker, giving them disadvantage and psychic damage equal to your Warlock level. The Warlock also received some massive changes, and I think they actually got really nice changes across the board, with a large list of Eldritch invocations here, alongside things like Life Drinker, which you can now take at level 9, and also the Devouring Blade, which lets you get the extra attack on top of your extra attack, similar to a fighter for level 12 Warlock. And also Pact of the Blade is also an Eldritch invocation as well. Now I also really like the changes to the Great Old One Warlock that can let you turn all damage into psychic on an attack, but we'll be focusing on the Sorcerer King here now. We get the Intimidating Presence at level 3, which gives us a proficiency in the Intimidation skill if we don't already have it, and expertise in Intimidation. At level 3, this is when we get our Voice of Tyranny, which lets us do command as a bonus action without expending a spell slot, and you can also cast it. Sorry, it's repeated there twice. We also have the Decisive Edict once we get to level 6, which I'll cover once we get to that point. There's also more cantrips here. Now, things like Blood Bolt are cool because this will give you temporary health equal to your proficiency bonus. Eldritch Blast, still doing Eldritch Blast things. We want to take that. That's the Warlock's core defining ability. If you're the face of the party, Friends is a great choice. Mage Hand is still nice as an option to heal your team by throwing health potions. And Mind Sliver is another really nice one because this will make the target take psychic damage and remove a 1d4 from their next saving throw, which is honestly quite good. So I think these two work very well. Booming Blade is also still honestly a good choice if you want to go with it for a little extra thunder damage. You don't have to, as Mind Sliver is still a fantastic option, but you can go between those two there. Now we get things like Armor of Agathis and Arms of Hadar for the spells we can select here. There's also things like the Hell's Lash. I still think one of the better options would probably be Armor of Agathis and Hex here. And we get to take an Eldritch Invocation at level 1. And Pact of the Blade is a good choice here because this lets you summon a Pact weapon, and with that you can bind it and then also use this to further buff up later on. So we need to take 3 invocations at this point. Devil's Sight is nice, but this one does require you to be a Warlock level 2, so it's something to keep in mind. I'm personally a fan of Eldritch Spear, which will increase your Eldritch Blast range by half, but that is another level 2 feature. And Eldritch Smite's nice once you get up to level 5, but I think the best choice right now is the Pact of the Blade. If you're like the face of the party, getting Beguiling Influence for proficiency in Deception and Persuasion can be nice as well. Now, our ability scores. There's a few changes to the rule set here, so we honestly could roll with a stat spread of 17 Charisma, 16 Constitution, 14 Dexterity, and then you use the Hag's Hair on that. But you can also go with a stat spread here to cover our Wisdom saves if you don't want to go with that. There are a number of feats that'll let you actually increase your Charisma by a +1, and there's many feats that are changed overall, so you may be tempted to actually drop one of our stats and go with a spread like this instead if you don't want to use the Hag's Hair. And now once we hit level 2, we get our Magical Cunning, so you can replenish 1 expended Warlock spell slot. Amazing. We also can take another spell here, and Crimson Lash is kind of cool. This will create a special weapon in your hand, does 1d6 of necrotic damage, and has a bit of extra reach to it as well. It's a light finesse weapon. I'm still a fan of like using things like Tasha's Hideous Laughter. Knocking a target prone is always a nice choice. Hell's Lash is interesting, which you can make the targets take damage each turn. This does require concentration, but it's a new spell. Honestly worth grabbing. We'll throw that on the mix. Now we get to choose a few Eldritch invocations here. So we already have Pact of the Blade. Our next one is Devil's Sight is still a good choice. We're Warlock level 2, so we can use that upon hitting level up. Magical Darkness and non-magical darkness. It's still a nice thing to be able to see through that because we can take advantage of things when the enemy cannot. Now there are other good options, like still Agonizing Blast, adding our Charisma modifier. Can't go wrong with that. Eldritch Spear is nice too. Giving us increased range on our very powerful cantrip is not a bad option. Repelling Blast, another really good option too, because you can use this to push enemies back. And I think that at this point, the Devil's Sight with Repelling Blast works well, but Eldritch Spear and Agonizing Blast can work well too. Next, at level 3 is when we get our subclass features. So at this point, we get our Voice of Tyranny now, allowing us to do a command as a bonus action without expending a spell slot. We also get Compelled Duel, Hold Person, an amazing spell, Mind Spike, doing a 3d4 or 3d8 of psychic damage, and the newly changed Wrathful Smite, which gives the target frightened and does necrotic damage. We also get to take a spell, And since we can see in darkness, this is a not bad option. Shadowblade has changed to now be a concentration, which makes sense. I like spray cards, which can blind targets, so we could go all in on our blind application here. Misty Step, we already have a bonus action option. And Mirror Image is not bad for the +9 to our armor class, but honestly, it's between spray of cards and darkness. Both will blind the enemy, which fits on a Warlock build really well. So we're going to go with that. I'm going to go with spray of cards. I'm playing a half elf, so I do have darkness from the half elf drow, so you can also choose that if you'd like instead. We get another cantrip here. Since we didn't take Mind Sliver last time, we're going to go with that. Lightning Lure can be nice too because you can pull enemies closer to you, sometimes useful. But Mage Hand and Bone Chill are two other good options. Now, our next level spell, we already got Hold Person. We don't need that, so we could go with the darkness option. Cloud of Daggers is guaranteed damage against the enemy, so this is a nice choice. We could alternatively glow with or invisibility. Now, once we hit level 4, we can only replace our invocations here, so just be mindful, watch what it says replace or to add a new one. And we get to choose a feat. Now, a lot of feats are different. Alert is most notably no longer a +5 to initiative, and initiative is now a d20. Lucky is still a really good choice. An actually interesting option is Spell Sniper. Casting a melee or being within 5 meters of an enemy does not give disadvantage on your spell attack rolls if you did want to go with the Blade option, and will increase the range of your spells made by attack roll by 50%. Now, if you want to be really cheeky, there is, from Xanathar's Guide to Everything, included in this mod, the Eldritch Adept, which lets you take another Eldritch Invocation. So, yeah, you can go further in that if you preferred that. Warcaster lets you do a reaction cantrip at a target that moves out of your melee range. Doesn't really work with Eldritch Blast, but you do get advantage in saving throws for concentration, which is nice. If we're going melee focus, Savage Attacker is still going to be one of our best feats. It's unchanged. It just rerolls your damage die, which is fantastic. So that's one of my favorites. Charisma Increase is also a nice choice. Actor is great too. This, if you took 17 Charisma, puts up to 18 and adds proficiency bonus double to Deception and Performance. There's also the option to take Fey Touch, which can boost up our Charisma, give us a free Misty Step spell. And we also can then take something like the Hunter's Mark, which now does force damage against the target, which is cool. We can enhance this here. I do think that Savage Attacker ends up being one of our biggest damage options because once we get to level 5, we can then get our extra attack here. So that's what we're going with. Now, we do get new spells here. We get Bestow, Curse, and Fear, which can make enemies drop their weapons, and you can then pick them up. It's great. We also get some more spell options here with things like the Telekinetic Crush, doing a 5d6 of force damage at level 3 spell slot and doing it on a strength save. So this is great against any type of like spellcasters. And Counterspell is typically going to be one of the best options. If you got it available, you should always grab it. Hunger of Hadar is another good one though. Some people really like it, and it is an option to go with if you don't want to go with the Counterspell. I just think Counterspell is one of the best spells in the game, and defense sometimes is a very nice thing to have. Once we get to here, we can actually go ahead with taking our Thirsting Blade now. So this is a level 5 Warlock or higher. You gain the extra attack feature for your pact weapon only. With that feature, you can attack twice with the weapon instead when you take the attack action. And at level 12, we can take that a step further. We also get another invocation at this point, and Eldritch Smite to increase in range. You could also go with the Agonizing Blast to add your Charisma modifier to Eldritch Blast. There is also Eldritch Smite though. This one is really fun. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with your pact weapon, you can expend a pact magic spell slot to do an extra 2 to 16 force damage to the target and give the target the prone condition if it's huge or smaller. So this can be a fun one if you don't want to go with the other options here like Eldritch Spear or Agonizing Blast. I'm going to leave it because I think Eldritch Smite is a lot of fun. Level 6 gives us our new, I guess another spell. I'd grab Hunger of Hadar, but we also get a new passive here from our subclass, the Decisive Edict. Your patron's power surges through you, allowing you to rally your allies and subjugate your enemies. When you cast a spell using a pact magic spell slot, you can use Profane Power to erupt in a 9-meter emanation originating from you. For each creature that you can see in the emanation, you can marshal, giving a creature advantage on attack rolls against the next turn. Or you can oppress them, and the creature must succeed a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC or have the frightened condition until the end of next turn. Pretty cool feature, and I'll show that off when we get to the combat section. It's pretty nice just to have some other options alongside the command that we also do have. Level 7, we also get access to Staggering Smite, which is a Hexblade special news subclass spell that I got in patch 8. And we also get Confusion, not a bad spell. Ralutham Psychic Lance is a nice one. This will give the target the incapacitated condition. We can also create a Summon Aberration Intellect Devourer. It's pretty much just us. It actually does summon in us. So you could go with that if you prefer. We also get to take another Eldritch Invocation here, and we get access to level 7 ones here, so things like Whispers from the Grave. What's cool is you could, if you wanted to, add in another feat, and you could go with like Pact of the Chain and buff up the chain there, or you could go with Pact of the Tome and give yourself Gifts of the Depth, which gives you the spells Haste, which is not as good as it was in previous Baldur's Gate 3, and Animate Dead and Call Lightning. Just some more options for spells if you do want them, but I do think it's good to have our Eldritch Blast be powered up. So you could actually go with the Eldritch Mind, which will give you advantage in Constitution saving throws you make to maintain concentration. That's actually a really powerful one. Considering that the Amulet of Greater Health no longer provides that for you, you can go with that. Typically, you could get it from an item, which is really nice. Wardcaster being another source of that if you'd like the advantage on your saving throw concentrations. And for our next level here, Banish can be still a pretty good option. Sometimes it's nice just to remove someone out of the fight altogether. You could grab Hellish Rebuke if you want a bit of extra fire damage. I want to go with Summon Aberration. Sometimes it's nice to have a summon, not always needed, but you can cheese it with a staff and give yourself a free cast using it. Now, once we get to our next level here, unfortunately, we don't have any fire spells because Elemental Adept is now much more powerful, also giving a stat up. But I think actually we're going to go with Spell Sniper, which lets us do close range attacks or increase the range of our attacks here so we can get our further off spells if we wanted to use them. And if you want to go with somewhat of like a role play, this is a Sorcerer King, so you could go with the gift of the Gem Dragon, and you could pretend your patron's like a Gem Draconic Sorcerer, and giving you this gift which lets you, when a target attacks you within 10 feet, you can use a reaction to deal a 2d8 of force damage against them and push them up to 10 feet away. This is nice because it's sometimes just, you don't want to get overwhelmed with too many targets around you, and it also lets us take our charisma up to 18. I will keep it simple though for the video and just put Spell Sniper on, which is honestly quite good. Warlock can do it all, and it's nice to have options and be good at doing them. Now, at level 9, we get Synaptic Static. This does an 8d6 of psychic damage, and it's level 5 spell. Pretty powerful. It's also an intelligence save. Targets typically aren't amazing at doing those, so this is nice. Level 9 also gives us things like Hold Monster, which are still very powerful, and Dance Macabre, which lets you create 3 ghouls, and these do require concentration, but you can make them honestly quite strong. And we also have access to taking Circle of Scarlet if you want to take that. I think at this point it's probably still best to take Hold Monster, and we get also an Eldritch Invocation. At this point, we have access to Life Drinker now, which is different. It works kind of similar to how the Monk gets their manifestations. The Life Drinker now lets you do an additional 1d6 of necrotic, psychic, or radiant damage to a creature, and you regain that number as health points as well. And this is once per turn, so we take that because we do melee attacks and we spellcast as a warlock. We want to have kind of a good balance of both. Like sometimes you need to do one, sometimes you have to do the other. It's good to be able to be sustainable in melee range, but also long range if we need spellcasting. This is why we went with the different feat choices there. Now, once we get to level 10, we get Vindictive Rebuke. So you learn to rebuff those who challenge you or might your patron. When an enemy makes an attack roll against you, you can use a reaction to impose disadvantage on that attack roll, and the attacking creature must do a charisma save or take psychic damage equal to our warlock level. Pretty strong. I like it. So at level 10, they take 10 damage. We also get to take another cantrip at this point, and Hellfire is fun for the theming purposes. Green Flame Blade, since we are a melee attacker, just lets us the fire jump around to targets. It's a cool one. We're gonna go with that. Not some. Actually, yeah, we'll take Dance Macabre here at this level. I think that this is not a bad spell. It's 3 ghouls, they have like 24 health each, and they're just nice because you can also buff them up with aid, and it's going to subtract attacks from the enemy to keep your team safe. Level 11, we get our Mystic Arcanum. So we got things like Circle of Death. Eye Bite can be nice because if you hold your concentration, you can continually keep putting people to sleep each turn. It's honestly not bad. Flesh to Stone, hard because the target has to do 3 failed saves to be frozen, and that takes a long time in combat. Create Undead though, not a bad choice as well to soak up hits. We're going to go with the Enervation here, which can heal ourselves for the damage that we deal to a target, half the damage that we deal to a target. Not a bad spell, but our final level, this is where the Warlock becomes Super Saiyan. We actually get another invocation here, another spell too. I guess Planar Binding, sometimes it's funny to use that one. Or you can go down and take one of the other spells like the Circle of Scarlet. But we get with this our Devouring Blade. So we have Thirsting Blade, which will give us an extra attack. This now gives us the extra attack like a fighter would get at level 11. This is pretty good. Honestly, pretty good. So once we're at this final level, we may as well max out our Charisma since we're using that for our weapon attacks and spell casting, and it's nice to have maxed out Charisma. And yeah, Eldritch Smite does a lot of damage. Now, as for equipment that we're using on this build, we only have light armor proficiency unless we take a feat to be able to give ourselves that. So late game, we can go with the Ballast Armor to give ourselves the max armor class, but the early game Potent Robe, one of the better options, even though our armor class is kind of low. You can then use someone with something like the Mage Armor. A scroll will actually, you can get your wizard here that can't wear any of his armor that he was previously wearing to use a scroll of mage armor. A warlock can actually use it, so you can get him to come over and then cast you mage armor. So there's some workarounds to the, it actually makes wizards much more nice to have in your party. And then that will give us the +3 armor class, which makes you survive a little bit longer when we're in the start of the game and clothing is not cutting it. But as you get later on in the game, you can then start to use things like light armor Another actually good early game option is the Protectee Spark Soul, which will give you a bonus to armor class when we got lightning charges and you just use the lightning staff. But we can use the Ballast Armor later on, as it's going to give us the highest armor class and initiative boost. The initiative is a little different in this game now. We also have the Cloak of Protection for a +1 AC, and Haste Helm can be a good early game option to give ourselves more movement speed. Since we got the extra attacks too, it can be great in the late game. But Birthright ends up being one of the better options because, again, charisma for spellcasting, attack rolls, and all the good stuff there is just something that we want to have high. I also got the Helldust Gloves. This is a late game option, obviously, because it's good. We get extra attacks. We get spell save DC, spell attack roll bonuses. It does something for everything on this build, so it's worth taking. The Daredevil Gloves could be good in the early game if you didn't end up taking the Eldritch Invocation. Dark Justiciar Gauntlets are also not a bad option too. And even the Gloves of the Battle Mage's Power will proc off a few of our abilities to give ourselves a bonus to our spell save DC. You can even use the hat, the Arcane Acuity hat, but going with a higher charisma just benefits things, and it's kind of like they're equal in terms of the effects. I also have the Boots of Stormy Clamor on here to apply reverberation on the enemy, just knock them prone. Still a good option to go with. But you can use like Evasive Shoes or Disintegrating Nightwalkers, or even Helldust Boots if you wanted to later on in the game. Now, we also got our Amulet of Greater Health for a +3 to Constitution. It's a little different in how it works now. The Caustic Band will also add to acid damage, and it's a new color. It's now very rare. It's a good item. Use it. And the Ring of Free Action. We will no longer get slowed down by difficult terrain, and we ignore all the benefits, negatives of difficult terrain. This is a really good ring. Can't be paralyzed or restrained either. I also have the Knife of the Undermountain King here, which gives us increased critical hit chance and advantage on attack rolls when attacking lately or heavily obscured. You do have to use Bind Pact Weapon here to be able to get that, and then you have your Pact of the Blade, which lets you change the damage type of your Pact weapon. So if you wanted to use a full Radiant damage build or psychic damage, you got lots of cool options here, which lets you go ahead with whatever you want. And then you see we now have the ability to use the weapon, and we get that extra damage turned into psychic. So pretty cool stuff. And while we're not really proficient with scimitars here, or martial weapons for that matter, you still can use the Perfectly Balanced Strike, which actually attacks with our main hand there. As you can see, it does the psychic damage. So we're kind of cheesing this since we don't normally have that. But if you don't like doing that, Dol Armaris for the increased crit damage is nice. Orange Dagger. And I'm also a big fan of the Cold Snap. That's actually a really good one. It can chill the targets, which chilled isn't as strong anymore, but still a nice feature to have. And the Hellrider Lombo will add a +12 to our initiative with the D20 initiative, meaning we're more likely to go first. And what's nice is we can also summon our Danse Macabres here, our little ghouls, and then we can use our Magical Cunning and then get our Warlock spell slot back, so we don't even have to think about that. We already got it back. And they have 22 health. So when it comes to combat, since we're such a good melee attacker, sometimes that's our best thing that we could do. If we can get into range to do an attack, I actually was able to apply reverberation on them. So that's another nice thing about the boots. We could also use things like Green Flame Blade here, or our regular old Booming Blade. And then we also have our bonus action commands and things like that. I'm going to use Green Flame Blade here because I think this looks really cool. I'm going to show that off there. And I normally roll the crit there. We burn them away with the radiant damage too. Which, yeah, I guess I should probably think twice about using radiant damage in this fight. So that's the nice thing, is this does not require an action. And if you remember to turn that off and you go against someone that reflects radiant damage, you can quickly do that at any time. One thing to note, Green Flame Blade will eat up your entire attack action, so just a heads up on that. It's the rules that it's how it is in D&D. But we also have another trick up our sleeve. So we got Command, bonus action version. And what's great about this version is that it does not actually count as a spell. So if you've already cast a spell this turn, like it's actually giving me that for these, you can then go ahead with Command and it's not counted as a spell. And we got a nice 99% hit chance on that. We'll take it. Now we got two people right in our face. Sometimes we can get lucky and hit them with a spray of cards. This is really nice because that's going to blind everyone. That just gives you a way to get out of combat quickly. But we could also just go with a good old-fashioned Eldritch Smite if you wanted to. Or we can just do our regular old attack because it's a Warlock. You get 3 attacks now. It's quite nice. Now, I'm also not in a really good position to use Circle of Starlight and Friendly Fire myself, but I'll end my concentration here to use Enervation, which will give us healing, which is kind of nice because I hurt myself. So going ahead with that, we now have him all rooted up, and that's going to make him take damage each turn. We can activate it there. Whether I don't know why I walked there, but yeah, you can use that, and it's going to drain the health, and we got some healing, which I just lost from proccing that opportunity attack. And I'll use my Perfectly Balanced Strike to do an attack against that target and light everyone on fire. But we also got our Decisive Edict here, which we can then use to debuff the enemy here. Frightening, we got the Frightened Charm off, so that's nice. And We could counterspell his Bone Chill, but we're just going to let it happen because we have another reaction with the Vindictive Rebuke. So we can turn this into disadvantage and then give them a 12 or 16, I guess, psychic damage. That's, I guess, from the Resonance Stone adding a bit of extra damage. The Resonance Stone does make you fail a lot of saves, so it's actually better to not use the Resonance Stone whatsoever. Just a heads up on that. But here we go. Eldritch Smite. We can land these. This is worth doing. He's got 150 health left. We could use that 68 of force damage and possibly, yes. Oh, we took him out real good. 72 damage force. That is crazy. But the reason I did it that way is because since we got the extra attack, we can do it the boring way and just attack 3 times. That's still actually not the best, but you can do psychic damage or you can turn your damage types around. So it's kind of cool that you got options like that. And then at the end, we got a bonus action attack. So we actually do 4 attacks per action. But the Warlock is really nice because you have all these different options for spells. You got Eldritch Smite. The Warlock, I think, actually made off one of the best out of all the classes in Player's Handbook 2024 in this update. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed, and go check out the Player's Handbook 2024 All-In-One Beyond Mod. This is by Yoonmoonsik again. We're checking out. It's a lot of fun and completely changes the game. So let me know your thoughts in the comments.